So I'm about to teach you the 6 content structuring secrets used by the top personal brands to grow and scale their brands faster. I've studied some of the biggest personal brands over the last 6 months and have uncovered what all of them have in common. These 6 content tricks are going to forever change how you think about building and growing your personal brand. So I just analyzed 10 videos from some of the 10 biggest influencers and personal brands out there, which collectively received well over 10 million views, so that I could reverse engineer those videos in their virality and extract the 6 specific tricks that every single one of these gurus leveraged. So if you're struggling to grow your personal brand online, then these 6 tricks are for you. All right, everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Darren Peel, and the entire purpose of this YouTube channel is to help you grow and scale your 7-figure personal brand. So if you're not already subscribed, please take a second to hit that subscribe button below. So I just got done watching one of Vin's videos. He's quickly approaching 4 million subscribers on YouTube, and the way he structured his videos was so beautifully done that I was captivated. I was compelled. I even wanted to take the next steps to learn more about working with him. And I could tell that he structured this so intentionally and so well that it was hacking my psychology to want to subscribe, to want to follow him, and to want to work with him. But I knew this wasn't just by chance. I knew he intentionally structured and leveraged these tricks to make me want more from him. And it got me thinking, are these the same tricks that all of my favorite influencers and gurus are leveraging to grow and scale their personal brands? And long story short, after dissecting the most successful personal brands and how they structure their content, I learned that all of the biggest names are using and leveraging these 6 tricks. So in today's video, I'm going to be breaking down exactly what those 6 tricks are. And make sure you stick around to the end, because I'm going to be revealing my favorite psychological lever that you can use inside of your content that takes casual viewers and converts them into leads and potential paying customers. All right, so without further ado, let's dive into number 1. So the first trick I've identified is the pattern recognition formula. This is the trick that separates the amateur content creators with those that have multi-million-dollar brands. And once you see it, you'll never be able to unsee it. Most content creators, they just dump information at their audience. They say things like, here are 5 tips to grow your brand. And then they just simply list them out, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But the gurus, they follow a very specific formula. So here's the exact formula I've identified. Problem setup, core concept, demonstration, benefits explanation, and a smooth transition. So let me show you exactly what this looks like. A regular content creator might say something along the lines of, you need to use storytelling in your content. That's the point they're trying to make. But that's it. Just a tip. But if you watch how some of these gurus deliver the exact same information, it looks something a little more like this. You know that feeling when you're scrolling through LinkedIn and 99% of the posts just blend together with boring corporate speak? That's because they're missing one element that makes content magnetic: strategic storytelling. Let me show you the difference. Here's a regular post. We increased our revenue by 30%. Versus 3 months ago, I was staring at my bank account at 2 a.m. wondering if I'd have to lay off my team. Today, we just closed our biggest month ever. The second version doesn't just inform, it creates an emotional connection that makes people want to know more about your journey. And that emotional connection is exactly what we need for trick number 2. Transition to the next trick. You see the difference there? Every single element inside of that framework serves a purpose that is hijacking the viewer's psychology to keep them hooked. Now moving on to trick number 2. Trick number 2 is what I like to call the contrast demonstration method. This is where a lot of creators completely miss the mark. Oh, and I almost forgot, I made a free download that goes along with this video. It's not just these 6 elements, but I broke down in detail the exact video that I was inspired to create this video from. And it goes through the exact elements that I extracted from those top 10 videos and put them all into one clear downloadable checklist. So make sure you click the link in the description and grab that free download. All right, so here's what 90% of these content creators do wrong. They tell you what to do, but they don't show you what not to do. The gurus that I studied, they understand that a lot of people respond best by being told what not to do. That's because the human brain often learns best through contrast. Our brains are wired to avoid things that cause pain and suffering. We often understand something better when we understand what it's not. So think about it like this. If I tell you to just speak confidently, that's pretty vague. But if I were to demonstrate something like don't speak like this, and then go on to exemplify someone speaking without confidence, like, maybe this strategy might not work for you. I don't know. I'm not quite sure, but what do you think? I don't know. Not sure. Versus, this strategy will transform your business. I've personally seen it work for over 200 clients myself. Now you can immediately understand and visualize the difference between each of those. And as a caveat, this is something I'm actively working on that I extracted from Vin's video itself. But the psychological principle here is known as the contrast effect. When you present two options side by side, the contrast and the difference becomes more apparent and it's magnified. So the gurus use this ruthlessly. They'll show you the old way versus the new way, the amateur approach versus the expert approach, or even just the classic before and after. So what this is doing is it isn't just educating them, it's positioning you as the expert that facilitates that transformation from before and after, from bad to good. So the third trick is something I uncovered specifically looking at some of the most captivating speakers. Wanted to know how they engage their audience and how they captured their attention. The third element is the multi-sensory teaching approach. So most people, like myself, they would think that teaching is simply verbal communication. They often focus solely on the words that they were saying. But the true gurus know that the influence comes not just by the words that you're saying, but how you say them and how you teach them. True influence happens when you engage multiple senses simultaneously. And this is something I'm actively working on inside of all of my videos myself. So here's the breakdown. Visual, auditory, and kinesthetic learning. The guru will never just explain a concept. They will paint a visual picture. They will use vocal emphasis and rhythm. They'll even incorporate physical demonstrations and gestures. For example, instead of just saying, you need to create space in your content, a guru might say something more like, think of your content like a paragraph on a page. If everything is crammed together, it's overwhelming. But when you add a strategic pause, it gives your audience more time to think and digest the words that you were saying. And this is why I personally think video content is so powerful for growing your personal brand. You can engage all three learning styles simultaneously. But even in written content, gurus will use things like analogies for visual learners, rhythm and flow for the auditory learners, and action-oriented language for the kinesthetic learners. And the neuroscience behind this is actually quite fascinating. When you are engaging multiple sensory pathways, information sticks better and creates a stronger emotional connection to what is being said and what they're trying to learn. Trick number 4 might be the most powerful content creation structure that I've uncovered through these gurus. I learned this from studying a video that got well over 2 million views. It's called the CCC Framework: Context, Core, and Connect. So here's how it works. The context is, why should I care? Core is, what exactly am I learning? And the connect is, how does this apply to my specific scenario? Most creators often jump straight to the core or the teaching. They just dump information. But gurus understand that without the context, people don't pay attention. And without the connect, they don't take action. So let me demonstrate. Use the 80-20 principle in your business. That's just the core or the teaching. But the guru version would sound something more like this. For context, 92% of entrepreneurs burn out within the first 2 years of business because they try to do everything themselves. The core, the 80-20 rule, states that 80% of your results come from the 20% of your efforts. And then lastly, the connect. So if you're working 60-hour weeks and feeling overwhelmed, you need to identify which activities are actually moving the needle and eliminate the rest. So you see how the context there creates the urgency? Then the core provides the solution, and the connect makes it personable and actionable. And honestly, I've learned that this framework really works for everything. Social media posts, emails, presentations, even just conversations you're having with your prospects or your clients. The psychological principle here is called the elaboration likelihood model. People are more likely to respond to information that's relevant to them and easy to process. All right, number 5 is where I personally, being extremely introverted and very logical, it's somewhere that I've struggled the most. This is the trick that helps build genuine connection with your audience. And it's all about strategic vulnerability and storytelling. This is what most people, myself included, try to do. They try to appear perfect. They only share their wins, their successes, and the classic highlight reel that you see on Instagram. But the gurus, they understand that vulnerability can actually be their secret weapon. This is what they use to build unbreakable trust with their audience. What I learned through studying all these gurus is that every single one of them, they seamlessly wove personal stories, anecdotes, their background, their experiences into all of their content without fail. And yes, that means even their mistakes and their own personal struggles. Let me show you what this looks like in practice. So instead of saying something like communication is important, I got this example from Vin's video where he said something along the lines of, growing up in a Vietnamese household, my parents would have these intense discussions in broken English mixed with Vietnamese. And I remember thinking as a kid, why can't they just say what they mean clearly? Little did I know, I'd spend the next 20 years making the exact same mistakes. I used to ramble in presentations, lose my train of thought halfway through sentences, and honestly, my communication was a complete mess. So do you see what happened there? Vin referenced things like his cultural background, his childhood memories, and his experiences, all rolled into one story that made him more relatable, even more likable. The psychological principle at work here is called the similarity attraction effect. People trust and are attracted to those that have similar experiences as them. When you admit your past mistakes, you're not weakening your authority, you're actually strengthening it, because you're showing the transformational journey that your clients want to go on themselves. The key is strategic vulnerability. You're not just sharing to do the classic overshare. You're sharing stories that directly relate to the lesson that you're trying to teach and show the contrast between where you were and where you are today. That's why stories and background and experiences are content goldmine. They make you human, they make you relatable and trustworthy. All of which I would say are essential for building an impactful personal brand. The sixth and final trick is the most powerful, but perhaps the most subtle trick of all. It's called layered authority building. And it's the difference between being seen as helpful versus being seen as the undisputed expert in your niche. Amateur creators will mention their credentials just once, usually somewhere like the bio or in the beginning of their content. Gurus will actually weave their authority into their content and into their stories throughout what they're trying to teach. This also comes off more natural and in a non-bragging type of way. They'll say things like, in my work with Fortune 500 CEOs and companies, or something like the pattern emerged throughout the 10,000 coaches that I've worked with. But here's the genius part. They're not just touting their own authority, they're also borrowing authority from others. They'll reference prospective books or industry leaders. They'll even mention scientific studies or share relevant results from their own students. This creates what scientists call the halo effect, where positive impressions in one area influence aspects of another area. By associating themselves with other authorities or influencers, they elevate their own perceived expertise. The key here is that it never feels forced or braggy. It's woven into the valuable content that they're already sharing. They're not saying, look how smart I am. They're saying, here's additional proof that my strategy works and is proven to work. This is why studying successful people and referencing their work isn't just good for learning, it's positioning yourself as someone who understands what success looks like. All right, so there you have it, the 6 structural tricks that gurus use inside of their content to grow and scale their personal brands. As a quick recap, the pattern recognition formula keeps viewers engaged. The content demonstration method accelerates learning. The multi-sensory teaching approach creates deeper connection. The CCC Framework makes content stick. The vulnerability connection strategy builds unbreakable trust. And the layered authority building positions you as the go-to expert. So hey, if you like this content, make sure you hit that subscribe button and check out this video next.